Hey, how you doing? My name is Jean. I am a knitter, and I've actually been knitting. Yay! I've also been downsizing and decluttering and not actually going towards a minimalist lifestyle because that's never going to be me, but I'm getting rid of a lot of things that I bought them thinking, oh, I will be this kind of person and do this. And that's not me. And I don't do that. And I didn't need to buy it in the first place. But I did find a good charitable organization that I can give some of my bits and bobs to. So I've been doing that and I feel good about it. But I also feel good about getting rid of some things. I had a knitting project that I was working on that I hated, and it was supposed to be a charitable donation, making lemons out of lemonade and using up yarn that made me feel bad to make something that I could give away to keep a person warm in the winter. Well, that was when I was living in Wisconsin, and I didn't finish it, and it is June, and it's not going to be cold. And I hated the pattern, and I hated the way the chart was even presented. I couldn't put it into Knit Companion and keep track of my rows. So back when I'm doing traveling cables and stay-at-home cables, I had a traveling cable that didn't cross correctly, and I just perpetuated the error, and nobody looking at it would know that it was an error. But I would know that it's an error. And then I had to figure out how to adapt the chart correctly so that I could, excuse the background noise, I'm living in an apartment, so that there were too many headaches. So I took it off the needles, I threw it out, and I don't feel bad about that. Because every so often, you have something that is a failure. And sometimes you can rip it out and reuse the yarn, but I hated this yarn. So, as I say, we are bowdlerizing this to turn it into something nicer. And we are going to chuck it in the Phooey bucket and not work with it again. Just chuck it in the Phooey bucket. We're done with it. And that's actually one of the ways that you become a better knitter. You try something, you think it's within your skill set, you decide for multiple reasons that it is not your style, your work, you make errors, you don't like it, it doesn't turn out the way you wanted. You have to be able to look at your work, assess your work, determine what went wrong, and then you chuck it in the Phooey bucket and move on. You had a learning experience. Learning experiences. Ooh. Yes, everybody says, oh, they're just happy accidents. No, they're not always happy accidents. Sometimes you chuck it in the Phooey bucket and you move on. This is, as far as I have gotten so far, dun, 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 on the Wild Swan. Now, I had started knitting it using a very, very beautiful lace weight yarn, but my vision was such, I can't see that, and it did not work. I could not make it happen. So I ripped it out, love the yarn, keep the yarn, used the yarn doubled, made myself a lovely neck warmer that it's just so perfect. I love it, I love it, I love it. I use it a lot, I wear it a lot. And then there's gonna be background noise. This is the lawn care company because they do a good job, but they run a lot of machinery around. And I have pulled it up on Knit Companion. I can keep track of my rows. And the nice thing that I have discovered about selecting patterns from Ravelry is if you look at how many projects have been completed based on that pattern, you kind of have changed your pool of test knitters to expand it to where you've got enough feedback that the pattern has notes and comments and updates and corrections, and you're getting a pattern that you can actually complete if you pay attention to the pattern. Why am I saying this? You will notice that there are majorly 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern repeats. And in the chart, it even says there are 4 pattern repeats. And what did I do? I didn't pay attention. I think I actually skipped a row early on before I was ticking off my rows with absolute fanatical accuracy. And I think I skipped an increase row, so I didn't have the right number when I was doing my pattern repeats. It didn't come out even. I had a few extra stitches. I just decreased them off. No, don't do that. Not early in a pattern. No. So I got to about row 15 and I ripped it out. Started all the way over from 0. Was fanatical about counting my pattern repeats, and it's working perfectly. Now, I'm up to a row where I have a cable, and I have never been able to do the pinch thing and then knit and pinch and cable without a cable needle. So I have a couple of choices. I got this, which is a ring that I can wear, and I have this, which is, well, some people would say it's a shawl pin, but other people recognize it. It can be used as a cable needle. One of the things I like about it is there's so much metal that there's some weight to it, which means when you pick up your stitches and spin them around to someplace else that they're not going to fall off, the weight of the metal of the cable needle will hold your stitches down and out of the way as you are knitting the next stitches, and then you move them back around, slip them onto the needle where you need them to be. You might have to do a little trading back and forth or turning. I don't recommend turning because that will twist your stitches inside the cable. What am I thinking? But you slip your stitches back to where you need them, and then you can do your cable and complete it without having to worry about flip this thing out of it. No, flip it out of the way. Nope, it's done. And you don't have to chuck it in the Phooey bucket. You can just move on. But remember that even experts, and I'm not an expert, I've done a lot of knitting, but I'm not claiming expert. Even experts will look at something that they have done, view it with a critical eye, and say, nope, that is not what I wanted it to look like, act like, feel like, behave like, whatever like. I didn't have this in mind when I planned this project. This is not what I wanted. It's going in the Phooey bucket. Chuck it in the Phooey bucket and move on. And don't always say, well, I can rip it out and redo. I can make it better. Because if you rip out yarn enough times, what you get is lint. And yeah, you can always respin lint, but you know what? I got better things to do with my time. I would rather just keep knitting. And I bet you would too. So keep knitting. Have fun.